Surrounded by fog on all sides, Cat has found a home in Mongrel. Kia ora, and welcome back to Kenshi, Tale of the Blade. We begin our tale today, only a few days after we last left off. Cat has recovered well, as his dog, and the two now seek to make a living out there in the fog. Just like life back at the hub, the crude copper bars the fogmen wield as clubs could and would be melted down, earning Cat enough to feed both him and dog while keeping a roof over their heads. But that was only part of the reason Cat patrolled the fog. It was out there that he could get himself a good fight. Yes, there would be danger and killing, but those were two aspects of life that Cat knew very well by this stage. On the continent, one must do everything they can to stay alive. A sharp blade and sharp wits certainly help, and Cat is improving. His swings are becoming more powerful, as is his ability to be agile enough to block incoming attacks. With the fogmen, you were never fighting just one enemy. Even striking at a lone fogman, before you knew it, you'd be up in your neck in them. There was some kind of connection, but that wasn't for Cat to study. He wouldn't focus on his enemy. For now, he would focus on himself, perfecting each step, making sure he had solid footing before unleashing a swing. Most, if not all, of the fogmen fought exactly the same. It was until Cat faced one with a blade. It had more skill than the others, and was the last one standing of the group. You see, for this was no ordinary hiver or fogman. This was a fog prince, of which the decapitated heads were worth a hefty bounty. Not enough for Cat to clear his own, but more than enough to survive comfortably. It would seem another avenue of work has opened for Cat. He was lucky with his first prince. Other heads would be much harder to earn, for the princes do not walk alone. Heavies, the shinobi call them, a more stout and robust version of fogmen. Usually 3 to 4 would protect one prince, but should their screams be heard, whole packs of dull-eyed creatures would descend on those unfortunate souls. Cat is far from invincible and still with much to learn. Collecting those heads would allow him to buy new equipment, better armor to protect him, better food for him and dog. And so it's time to rest and recover. But even while lying down, Cat's mind is still at work, going over his mistakes in his mind, what he could do better, how he could become faster. He trained just like he did back at the hub, carrying large barrels of water from one side of the town to the other. And once the locals were sick of that, it was back outside the walls again, back in search of the princes. The new equipment was certainly helping soften the blows, yet it was Cat's improving skill that was really making the difference. And sometimes it's hard to tell that difference in Kenshi. For Cat, months have been passing, training from sunrise to sunset. In actuality, he was chasing a ghost. Now hivers, they usually follow a queen, but Cat had heard tale of a king. And so he decided, maybe if he took enough hits, maybe if he got the right attention, that king would reveal himself. But like I said, chasing ghosts. Even so, it made the shinobi happy to have Cat's blade on their side. Together, the shinobi and Cat decimated the population of fogmen. The screams of those being consumed were slowly disappearing. There was no telling how many camps were out in the mist, but one by one, Cat freed them. But it really was less about saving those souls and more about finding that next fight, seeking those princes, not just for the bounty, but for the thrill of the fight, a true chance, an opportunity to test himself, to prove himself. More months passed, more heads were claimed. The notoriety of Cat continues to grow. The blade felt a part of him now more than ever before, an extension of his own arms. And as those months turned into years, Cat would become more possessive, more protective of the blade. At this stage, it had been in his possession for over a decade. Would the Holy Nation still truly thirst for it after all this time? It was a thought that would often enter his mind, but he wouldn't risk losing it. Not now, not while it had kept him alive all these years. And in those years, Dog grew alongside Cat. While they were no longer a pup, the canine still had much to learn of combat. The fog was becoming more dangerous. Cat thought it best that Dog stay in Mongrel. He was getting closer now, he knew it. Every hit would bring him closer. The numbers the fogmen would throw at him grew with each skirmish to what you would think would be overwhelming odds. Yet Cat had always fought against the odds, and this fight would be no different. With the rising sun, he travels, carrying the still living but limp body of a prince. If the taking of heads wouldn't lure out this king, perhaps taking one of their royalty captive would. And he wasn't wrong. Taking that prince certainly got the attention of the fogmen. Yet these princes, they weren't like the rulers of the United Cities. They were more akin to generals, leaders, smarter and more capable than the drones. And those leaders had been planning. There was no king waiting for Cat, but there was a war party, hungry for flesh. Like antibodies, rising up to purge a virus, an invader, Cat. As the sun rose, the clang of weapons was silent, and there was but one still standing. Years have passed here in Mongrel, and what we have witnessed are only small glimpses into the war between Cat and the Fogmen. They really did make a poor choice kidnapping him all those years ago, and he still bears those scars. But with so much time having passed, let's have a look at Cat's skills and attributes once again. And so, we can see that his strength has improved, but not by as much as I would have liked. His toughness, however, has grown in great magnitudes. At 86 now, Cat can really take a beating. Don't get me wrong, he's certainly taken a fair few of those over these years here. And that in part is why he is as tough as he is now. One of the ways that we improve toughness is by getting knocked down and getting back up again. What this means for him now is that his wounds will deteriorate at a slower speed, it takes a lot longer to knock him out, and he isn't knocked out for as long when he is down. His dexterity has improved as well, alongside his strength. But at this stage, it is difficult to improve strength and dexterity, largely due to the fact that the enemies that Cat has been facing aren't as strong as he is. No, he'll need stronger foes to improve his skill. His skill with the Blade of the Phoenix has risen on up to 60, which of course does affect the amount of damage that we are able to do with that thing. In addition, our attack and defense has risen up a whole heap, but yet again, there are penalties to fighting weaker foes. In saying that, the number of fogmen that Cat has been fighting at once has certainly helped offset that. I don't think there's been as much of a change to his stealth because, well, he really hasn't been using it all that much. In actual fact, he's been trying to get as much attention as possible from the fogmen. And finally, our last notable skill, athletics. He's certainly done a lot of running over the years. But as the skill gets higher and higher, it will become harder to train. But Cat isn't the only one that we are interested in. Here's Dog, and Dog is looking incredible compared to where they were as a puppy. That toughness is up, as is Dog's attack and defense, and these will get better over time. Eventually Dog will grow to be an elder, and then we'll really start to see these skills and attributes raise up high. Another thing to remember about Dog is that as they grow, not only are their attributes and skills getting better, but the amount of health that Dog has too. Meaning, Dog should be able to stay in the fight a little while longer. It's hard to tell here, but Cat has grown in height, but so too has Dog, by a much greater magnitude. I will be excited to see how big this Dog can get. But that is for another time, another adventure, and there will be many more for these two. For now, Cat and Dog have conquered the Foglands. There are still small pockets of fogmen out there, but the death yards that the shinobis and locals of Mongrel once feared are silent. The fog now has something to fear. So, what will come next for Cat and Dog, our two intrepid travelers? If Cat wants to continue to improve his skill, he's going to need to do that elsewhere. Where then is the next question? And that is what I ask of you all. There are many ways in which Cat can walk, but in this instance, we'll be taking the route with the most likes in the comments below. So do be sure to scour them to see if your option is already there and let your voice be heard. As for now, another chapter closes in the life of Cat and the tale of the blade. Thank you for joining me and the two travelers once again. For now, I have been Rycon. You have all been awesome. And until next time, stay tuned. Finally, today I'd like to extend a great big thank you to the Legion on Patreon who continue to make content like Kenshi possible.